You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Hey everyone, welcome to the BQN Hive Mind presents Let's Go San Francisco, the BQN's Star Trek Starfleet Academy Patreon recap panel. It's forgive the title, everyone. I know that we've named the last few of these series of shows after, I guess, captain's calls for going to warp, but there hasn't really been anything appropriate other than when Holly Hunter as Captain Aki said, "Let's go San Francisco." So that's what I've decided to call the show for now. The Hive Mind is a special gathering of Patreon subscribers of the BQN. It's a special perk that we give to our Patreon subscribers where you get more than just a call out on our shows, you actually get to be in the show. Today we're going to be recapping the first 3 episodes of Star Trek Starfleet Academy, which is Kids These Days, Beta Tess, and Vitus Reflux, which sounds like something I should take some Gaviscon for. Joining me today for this conversation, it is BQN Patreon subscribers, Chad and Jim. Chad, I'll go to you first. How are you going today?
It's fantastic. It's the weekend. Unlike most of the United States, here in California, not too far from San Francisco, it's just cloudy.
Cloudy.
We're not in feet of snow like most of the U.S.
Fair enough. Well, it is on Saturday here in Melbourne. It was nearly 40 degrees Celsius, which I think is 100 plus for you. Tomorrow, it's forecast in some parts of Melbourne to get up to 48. Yeah. That's like Vegas weather, pretty much. Like, that's just desert weather. So we're in for a hot couple of days. Jim, I think that's the exact opposite of where you are at the moment. You're well below freezing.
It's below the air temperature where I am is below 0 Fahrenheit right now.
Wow. That's but you've been doing something fun with the cold weather the last couple of days, Jim. What have you been up to?
Yes, well, for starters, I do, and thank you for saying this before, Davey. I do live in Minneapolis, so I am at the heart of what's going on right now here in America. So and thank you for the support you gave me earlier on that, Davey.
Of course.
But yes, I have been attending a Doctor Who convention the last few days.
Now that's fun. Now, there has been a lot of really, really horrific news out of Minneapolis lately, and I have been thinking about you, Jim, and we do hope that you're staying safe. But hey, a Doctor Who convention is definitely a shining light in the storm. That sounds like it was. You were showing me some of the stuff and telling me about what you got up to at that beforehand, right? So that's pretty cool. What did you get up to at the Doctor Who convention?
And well, one thing, or I should say, person that does have a Star Trek connection. I met Melora Poslar herself, Daphne Ashbrook.
Amazing. That sounds like she was a wonderful person to meet.
Oh, very, very personable person.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, I'm glad you got to, with everything else going on, I'm glad you got to do something fun to kind of take your mind off everything for a little bit. But definitely, heart goes out to you and everyone there, Jim. We're definitely all with you. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Now, if you are joining us today in the live chat, and I can see a few of you there, hello Joel and hello Kevin. Please feel free to offer your inputs as we go along today. But before we dive into Kids These Days, I just want to get, so 3 episodes in, what's your kind of quick What's your quick feeling about Starfleet Academy so far? What have your initial reactions been, Chad?
You know, I've been watching it along as it's come out, but in preparation for the Hive Mind, I watched the first and second episodes again. Actually, just ended about an hour ago, and the second time was better than the first, and the first time was good. So I'm really liking it. Starting to get more of the stylistic choices they're making, kind of analyzing and see, okay, like they just really did a good job on like the sets, immaculately clean, very well thought out. Character development, it's coming together. It's a little bit of a rocky start in some ways, but I think they've really brought it together. It's hard because it's an ensemble show. And so bringing an ensemble cast together can be pretty difficult, especially when you're having, different races, different people, different beings coming together. But I think they're overall doing a really nice job. And Holly Hunter as the Captain Ake is really doing a fantastic job. I mean, she kind of glues a lot of this ensemble cast together.
Mm.
And as one of the main protagonists, Jaden, I think he was a very good choice because he has both kind of the physical presence to kind of bring in the show, but also that backstory that makes it interesting. So in some ways, you can kind of compare him a little bit to Paris, a little bit to Seven of Nine. I'm just thinking of Voyager, but also others, just kind of that little bit of a rogue element that makes it a little interesting.
Yeah. I agree. I felt like the pilot was actually one of the stronger pilots I feel like I've seen in modern Trek. Like I had a watch party with a couple of friends, and we all turned to each other when it was done, and we all went, I really liked that. Like that was all it was just like I had a really good time during that pilot. And yeah, I agree. I'm loving Holly Hunter as the Lanthanite Captain Nala Arki, and that she brings that quirkiness, but still the gravitas to the role as well. But still not a traditional, captain style role. We've really got to take ourselves out of the traditional Star Trek. It's on a starship. The captain is the center of everything, because it's really about the kids and about the students more than anything. Jim, what have your initial reactions been? You have been dying for me to schedule the Hive Mind so you can talk about this.
Oh, I love this show. Uh, like, like, I will say, like, this show, it's not perfect. No Star Trek show is perfect, and it does not deserve like the review bombing that it has been getting. At like the review bombing, like it just drives me nuts. Like hearing all the negative reviews, it's been getting like I think it started even before the show came out, if I'm not mistaken. But still, getting to the positive stuff, like you're right about Nala Ake, like fantastic captain. Like she has to be the most relaxed captain right out of the gate in the command chair. Just like I don't think there's a piece of furniture she's not comfortable lying on.
I know it's become a trademark instantly, and I don't know whether that's Holly Hunter's doing, or the director's doing, or just the way the character's being written. But just
Might be Holly Hunter, I don't know.
yeah, so
Yeah.
good.
But I remember making a note of that. I remember making a note of that when I was taking notes for one of the Mission Log podcasts. No, okay, most comfortable captain ever, or something like that. Like, but still, like, probably one of, probably also Robert Picardo, like coming back as the Doctor. I know so far they're claiming that's the Doctor we've always known and loved, but I am still holding out hope for that being the living witness Doctor.
It's not, Jim. It's not. I know you want it to be.
I know, but I'm gonna hold out some hope for eventually, because they still got many episodes to go. They could throw us for a plot twist.
Mm. Can I just say
But
as well, just how much I've loved seeing Robert Picardo just slip back into the character of the Doctor so
oh god, yeah.
effortlessly.
Like when he did that opening line again about the medical tricorder, about the medical tricorder joke that he did in Voyager. I saw him say in an interview That was his idea. That was his idea to come up with that as like a throwback nod to the Voyager pilot, which I thought was brilliant. And like I've heard people say, I've heard people like fans say like they weren't comfortable with like the fight scene in the beginning, but if you could get past that fight scene, like there was more humor
Mm.
in there's been more humor in this series than there has been violence, wouldn't you say?
Oh, a lot of humor. It reminds me of some of the shows I watched as a young adult, right? It's very young adult humor. So some of it I kind of like roll my eyes at, but a lot of it is also like some of the comedic notes hit very, very well. Others are juvenile, and I think that's okay because the
Yes,
target audience will find that funny, and that's great. But yeah, it's a
but
good mix.
clearly they were doing the fight just to like as a shock and awe value to show this isn't your normal Star Trek, kind of along with all the swearing that's in this show compared to compared to any of the other Star Treks where I think the only other time they've ever seen swearing was it might have been Tilly in Discovery.
Oh yeah, there's been a bit of swearing in Modern Trek, but there's a lot of shit. They just say shit a lot in this, and I don't know if that's meant to be because kids would
I think one
swear
of
or
the
younger people would.
and I think one of the jokes was when whatever his name was, who I'm forgetting, went through like that transporter thing and went from like being dirty and everything, which he wanted to be, which he preferred to be, into being the clean shaven cadet with the uniform. He started to say "mother," and they cut out the F word.
Yeah, yeah. We're getting some good reactions from the chat as well. I saw Joel. I saw you say this straight up, and it cracked me up. Like loving Starfleet Academy. Where are our Warp Core PJs? I absolutely agree.
Oh,
Um,
I still want those to show up in the Star Trek store. I would buy a couple of sets of those.
yeah, yeah. And poor JR77 also wants those sweet Starfleet varsity jackets. 100%.
I swear I saw some kind of advertisement for the.
One other thing I've got to call out as well, which I saw someone mention in the chat. You know, yes, everyone's having like just all the reasons why it's not the Living Witness Doctor, and that is because this Doctor knows about the Prodigy crew. And
Oh yeah, that could be.
how cool to get a call out to Prodigy, you know, given that it's removal from Paramount Plus and all that kind of stuff. I love that they've kind of made no. Prodigy is canon, my friends. And here it all
Like not
is.
only that, they used the Rock Talk image as they used the Rock Talk footage like to insert it into the show to show a live action Brekar in on this series.
Yeah. Yeah. I loved that. I caught that. That was in I think that showed up multiple times, and yeah, Easter eggs. I think we'll have to do a special section for Easter eggs in a bit, but I want to just move into. So let's start about kids these days, and we've kind of touched on a couple of the things I wanted to talk about anyway. But so kids these days, first episode, strong pilot episode, as we've all agreed, drops us straight into the 32nd century after Discovery, where the Federation is still rebuilding after the burn. We meet a new class of cadets arriving at the academy, each carrying their own baggage. Of course, we have Caleb Mei, who is our sort of like emotional center of the premiere, and he is trying to find his missing mother, who we kind of see in the beginning. They're separated through actions of Captain Arke. So when he tries to contact his mother, it exposes the Academy / the USS Athena to a dangerous pirate attack led by our new baddie, Nusbraka, half Klingon, half Tellarite, which wasn't really mentioned in the episode, but I saw
No, a Klingerite.
a Klingerite. Love that. But I only know that because the actor mentioned it in an interview on Colbert. But anyway. So anyway, we get a whole incident. We get a whole bunch of tension between new characters, youthful idealism, with harsh realities of a galaxy still recovering. And I think the tone gets set for the season. Now, Chad, you kind of already touched on this a little bit, but maybe let's expand on the conversation of, the premiere establishing Academy as a compelling setting, and also how we feel about Caleb as he's really kind of our, even though it's an ensemble, Caleb's really our central character, right?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he's the person through which you view a lot of his experiences, especially in the first episode. Later on, it seems like it's more broad-based, but he is kind of the first among equals. And, as we were talking, actually, it occurred to me in some ways that this is almost like, in some ways, a little bit like MASH, especially the first few seasons where they had Colonel Pierce. Sorry, Colonel Blake was very like laid back. Then he had the nurses and surgeons underneath him. And I kind of feel that's a little bit of the dynamic you get with Holly Hunter. And then as the captain and some of the folks there, a little bit of that dynamic. There are also some comparisons to Harry Potter, but Harry is definitely and Hogwarts being the academy. And, Harry Potter was much more of a main character than Caleb is. But yeah, you definitely kind of get his story of finding his mother, finding his on Goja 5, and then kind of that, I'm assuming is going to be one of one of the story arcs that we see throughout the show for this season.
Yeah, well, I mean, I really hope we learn more about our ensemble, and we kind of have a little bit, but he certainly has the most backstory, and I don't want to say plot armor, but like there's enough around him that we can kind of feel like this season is going to be his journey, is kind of how I feel about that. What do you think about some of the other characters, Chad? Like, like we've got my favorite is Thok, by the way, but what about some of the other cadets and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think I really like the energy that Sam brings to that. She's a photonic being, so she's basically a hologram, but she's like an independent, kind of her own thing. Just positive, really a great member of the team. I think that she's just bringing a really good energy to the show. But yeah, a lot of the characters, as you were saying, like Darem Koyonian, I think is how you say it.
Koyonian, bitch.
He has some superpowers, which are kind of cool, being able to withstand space for a few minutes. Then you have Genesis, who's also from a species that we're not familiar with. I've never been to a planet before. So just a lot of the characters that I really want to find out more of the backstory. I'm glad that they do have some more familiar territory with the Lanthanite or half Lanthanite and Captain Aka. And of course, Reno being kind of the holdover from Discovery, which I love Dick Notaro. She's hilarious. She has like that personality that really can kind of bring other people together too.
Yeah.
She did really good episode, and partially in the first too.
Oh yeah, look, the more Jet Reno we get on screen, the happier I am, to be quite honest. But you're right, the Kyonians and all that, because I was racking my brain when he introduced himself, because he says it so matter-of-factly, right? And I was like, oh wait, is this some random...
He says it like everyone should know who they are.
Yeah, I was like, is this some quirky character from TOS that I've forgotten about or something like that? But yeah, have they introduced what species Genesis is? I haven't actually caught that.
Yes.
They have?
Yes. She's a Dasha.
A Darsha,
Yeah, that's
okay. Which is another new species as well, right? We haven't met the Darsha before. No.
I believe, yeah, and it's new, which gives a lot of possibility from a story writing perspective. They could bring that up and, play with that, have it come in handy sometimes too.
I think so. And Star Trek, in the 90s, always did a really good job of introducing new species, which could introduce new dynamics and cultures and all that kind of stuff along the way. TNG bringing in Ferengi and Betazoids and Borg, and DS9 bringing in, fleshing out the Cardassians and the Bajorans, and then bringing in the Dominion, and Voyager with the millions of Delta Quadrant species. So you're right. Hopefully it doesn't become too much like the Caleb and RK show, and we do get to learn more about them. But Jim, I want to go to you. How are you feeling about some of the new characters that we were introduced to in the premiere?
Well, you didn't mention Jaden Crag or Krog, whatever his name is, the soft Klingon, like,
Ah, yes. The soft
Like-
Klingon.
and that's not a term I came up with. That's a term I've heard.
Yeah.
Like, he's a Klingon who doesn't yearn for battle, who doesn't yearn for victory, who doesn't seek out either of those. Like, every Klingon we've ever seen, whether they were a warrior or not, always sought victory to some degree. Jaden, other than maybe his thirst for blood in his food, doesn't seek any of that.
He's very chill Klingon, and I want to learn. Even Thok kind of calls him out on that, like, you do not yearn for sweet battle, all that kind of stuff. I feel like there's a lot more we're gonna learn because he's just kind of this best buddy to Caleb at the moment. But
Yeah, because have we ever seen a Klingon who prefers bird watching to battle before?
yeah, exactly. I like him. I love the portrayal of him, and like a lot of the characters in the ensemble that haven't had a huge amount of time in the spotlight yet. I really want more. I want to know more. I want more of him on screen. We're getting kind of drip fed, and sorry, keep going. What do you think of some of the other characters?
As for the other characters, like, I'd say, as for why I'm blanking on his name, the Kyonian, like, that is your classic typical teenage movie. Forgive me for saying this, a-hole character. Like,
Yeah.
like the minute you see him, you hate him. But of course, of course, we've already started to learn to like him a little bit. And I'll just say this: I'm not a huge fan of Sam. Like,
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Like, obviously, obviously the character is the character who is trying to figure out how to navigate teen feelings and teens, and obviously it being awkward, which we've all gone through. We've all been there, and I sympathize with that. I truly, truly do. It had some awkward years when I was 17.
Yeah, of
But
course.
as a 44-year-old, I don't want to watch that necessarily.
Okay. Sam, to me, I mean, I find her quite endearing, but I feel like Sam is the teenage version of like a Data style character. There's always the Data, the Spock, the 7 of 9, the fish out of water kind of character a little bit. And Sam very, right up from the get go, like, hello, bonjour, be my friend.
That too. I'm just thinking of this now. She's just a little too chipper.
Okay, all right.
Like, maybe they could have toned back the cheerfulness just a little.
All right. Jim does not like joyful characters. Got it. No, just kidding.
I love joyful characters, but there's a fine line. There's a fine line between liking them and hating them. I'm starting to learn.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Sam's getting a bit of love in the chat.
And all the power to the and chat. All the power to you for liking Sam. I fully support anyone who does like the character.
Yeah. Kevin in the chat says that maybe they need to do an intergalactic species day where the classes do a little show and tell and focus on their people and their culture. I could actually, with everything we've seen so far, I could actually see that happening.
I bet that they're going to bring in Darem's parents, see a little bit of Kyonian culture.
Yeah,
He
maybe.
talked a lot about.
I think
how,
that's something. I think that's something we'll be discussing during one of our later reviews in this episode.
Yeah, no, you are right though, Chad. Yeah, I think we may get a little bit of that backstory for sure, and that's what I keep saying.
But one other thing I'll point out in this episode, Davey, like, oh my God, the way it opens with like not one, not two, 3 acting heavyweights in the same scene. Like, you have Paul Giamatti, Holly Hunter, and Tatiana Maslany together in the same scene.
Yeah, they really CBS and Paramount kind of were like, oh no, let's get some Hollywood heavyweights to bring in the crowds for this one.
Yeah,
And
I mean, not like they needed it. Star Trek, just the title on its own can carry a show, but still, it
Yeah.
was amazing to see. And for that child actor who was playing young,
Caleb.
I still cannot remember his name.
Caleb.
Caleb.
Yeah.
For that child actor who played young Caleb, oh my God, he held his own. He held it brilliantly.
Yeah, no, I agree. He was fantastic. One other thing I wanted to touch on in terms of the characters, though, which we haven't really mentioned, is the controversy. Well, I feel it's like a bit of a fabricated controversy around Thok and her lineage. So we've got 1,000 years in the future. We have a female Jem'Hadar when there never used to be any female Jem'Hadar, and she's half Klingon. But it's so funny, like, to me, and I'm interested to know whether you agree or disagree. I mean, come on, it's been 1,000 years.
That's
It's
what I told
possible.
several people.
Yeah, it's possible that the Jem'Hadar have been emancipated from the founders.
Well, Odo went back to the Great Link, so it makes sense they would be emancipated and taken out, kept her still alive.
Yeah,
Give it 1,000 years of breeding with other species, they're gonna have females.
yeah. Chad, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've been active in the Trek book club and just reading more and more Trek books. In the
Mhm.
80s, they had this. I mean, all the books are pseudo-canonical, but they had, what is it? Spock's World, and it goes into a little bit about where Spock comes from, and it was actually saying that they didn't have like, Spock was not conceived the usual humanoid way. He was some kind of, like, genetic experiment, which is sketchy with the canon, but I don't know, it just kinda reminded that is that in the future, even if the Jem'Hadar didn't, like, reproduce in the normal way, there are other ways that they have. So,
Yeah.
maybe it came through that way, who knows?
Yeah, exactly. And if they're genetically engineered, I mean, you can imagine part of that genetic engineering just suppresses any reproductive urges or production or anything
And
like that. But once they're free of that,
plus the whole 900 years thing could also explain, hey, yeah, they were genetically engineered, but they're gonna start to grow sexual urges and stuff like that too. It's just natural. It's just natural. It's just natural growth.
yeah, exactly. Because if you were to say, and I'm using head canon here, but like if you were saying that, all right, so the founders for a long time had just, as part of their development, had just basically done something to stop, the production of sexual organs, or the the magic goo in both sides that makes a baby happen. But when they basically stopped genetically engineering them, they probably, maybe at some point in the last 1,000 years, just gave them back that reproductive capability and allowed them to
Makes me
live.
now want to see the Vorta again because they did have both sexes.
Yeah. And we've got, Joel in the chat has said, slightly tweaking them to reproduce is no different than taking away the drug dependence. So
That's a
yeah,
good point.
the rage over that is. Oh, sorry, go Chad.
I was gonna say it's like in Jurassic Park, life finds a way. So,
And I love a good Jurassic Park reference. Thank you. That's amazing. And it's a good segue here into the next question, right? We're in the 32nd century. This is a long way away, right? And so much could have changed. Discovery, we got a very gentle landing into the 32nd century, and we got to kind of see all the changes and weirdness through their eyes. That crew kind of was our guidance. But now we're in a lived-in 32nd century, and with the exception of Jet Reno, these are all people who have been a part of this universe for a while. Chat, how are you finding that setting, and how like the world building they're doing around this Federation future so far away? How are you finding it?
one thing that, that Discovery didn't really go into, which I wish they would have with the character of Amira when they came on board, is the fact that the future, for a while, Earth was very much like closed off, probably because of the burn. And then all of a sudden, and xenophobic, and then all of a sudden, Discovery comes, they eventually open up, and then they bring Amira on board. And I thought it was weird that they, meaning Amira, they didn't really explore, they didn't show a lot of how that xenophobia, that fear of outsiders really came in. And so it would be interesting to see how Earth had changed. That's kind of like the society too. And they talk a little bit about the Bajoran, or sorry, the Betazoids in the third episode. But one thing too that came to mind is, there was a lot of hate online, or maybe discontent online about the technology and how like it wasn't future enough for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, kind of thinking about the original series, how, for example, like cell phones and the ability, like the fact that you're in Australia, I'm in California, and Jim's in Minneapolis, that we can all communicate. This is in some ways fancier than the communicators
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
they had. So, I mean, I wouldn't get too hung up on some of the technology aspects of it, because as long as they set it in the future with the vibe and everything, I think it works out.
Yeah, I agree. And I I think I might have been part of that same discussion in our spoiler Discord chat
I
about
think I was too. I think I was too, and it's like I said in that spoiler chat, a good in-universe explanation of that is like the reason Discovery used like I'll u- I'll use this example like the combat transporters is because it was a shiny new toy to them, a, a, a good new convenience, so they would use it a lot. To the people of the 32nd century, it's just a common piece of everyday technology that that they use like when they have to for like say Lura Thok when she had to get to the cadets fast. Otherwise, otherwise they're just gonna probably walk everywhere or take a turbo lift.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I was going to say
But
some technologies we have today, like the cell phone, far better probably than most people would have imagined 30, 40 years ago.
Mm.
But then again, like in Back to the Future Part 2, we don't have our hoverboards.
or,
So,
or our flying cars.
yeah, I was about to say that. Where are our damn flying cars?
Yeah, look, I'm always one where, I mean, unless I'm really, really taken out by what they're doing, I think I can just suspend disbelief and just enjoy the ride a little bit. I said something in our chat on Discord where I feel like maybe, technology got so good, but maybe they've also kind of gone back to just some natural ways of living, especially because Earth was isolated for so long as well. They dismantled everything after the temporal Cold War in terms of time travel. Then the burn happened. And you got to imagine, like, this is a galaxy that was so dependent on intergalactic trade and dilithium as the power source for everything. And then none of it was around. So it would send things into chaos a little bit. And so they've kind of peeled back and maybe just gotten,
Which
yes,
which kind of
technology is there, but
goes to the theory I just said about any technology they have is going to be to them just kind of everyday kind of thing. Like it's not going to be anything big to them.
yeah. I like what Joel said, though. Stealing a comm badge defeats all security, so some things aren't much better. Joel, I thought the exact same thing. I was like, oh, come on. Like, as if that would be enough. I mean, coming from someone who works in cybersecurity, I was just like, oh, geez, that's ridiculous. So, but yeah, look, I feel like in any like futuristic sci-fi drama, especially one that's set so far in advance like this, unfortunately, you do have to anchor a few things in something that is relatable to the audience of today. And that's why we're seeing so many, school-like things that we're used to, like the different clubs that they can join and the way the classrooms are. I mean, like people don't even attend classrooms in person at a university now. Like, I work at one. I can tell you they don't.
I live in a city right now where they're pretty much going to online learning for any grade level.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I'm here for more of the 32nd century. I'm actually really happy that they've gone with this setting set up by Discovery. I just hope that I think some of the points we were making in our Discord chat were like, well, let's just make sure that the writers are allowed to take advantage of the creativity that this setting gives them. I want to jump now into episode 2 if I can, though, to keep us moving along. So episode 2, beta test. So this shifts gears into more of a political territory as the Academy hosts negotiations with Beta Z to bring them back into the Federation. The Federation is desperate to rebuild alliances, but Beta Z's youth movement pushes back hard. They don't really push back hard. I got the youth movement, I was like, what side are they on? I couldn't really tell. But they were demanding the dismantling of a psionic wall erected after the burn, which, again, how does that work? But, we can unpack that in a sec. So the episode had a lot of like generational conflict, kind of, trying to sort of really unearth the trauma of what it must have been like to live through the burn and the question of how much a society should sacrifice for safety. It's a quieter episode than the premiere, but it deepens the world building and raises the stakes for the Federation's future and probably goes to show us that the Federation still has a long way to go to become the Federation again. One thing that's just come to mind as I was reading this, right? So Archie says like, oh, these kids grew up in the burn. So the burn was over 100 years ago. Archie's the only person who probably didn't grow up during the burn. Do you know what I mean? Especially amongst the human characters, like the Admiral and all that kind of stuff. They would have
established it. I think they established in episode 3 when she grew up, roughly.
Yeah. But like the other characters would have grew up, like even the other adults would have grew up during the burn, don't you think? Unless they're like, Vulcans or Klingons who've lived for over 100 years or something. But anyway. The political storyline, Chad, how did you find the political storyline with Beta Z, the reintroduction of the Betazoids? It seems like their society has changed a lot, don't you think?
Yeah, it does. What is interesting kind of thinking about it is, because I've kind of drifted towards the books, I'm reminded of the book from either 2020 or 2021, Shadows Have Offended, where part of it takes place on Beta Z. And it reminded, like, Beta Z reminded me of, like, Bravo, Real Housewives, but it does, like, just, like, how they act, how they interact, their clothing, their style, they're very loud and like a reality TV show. And I would figure some of their leaders would be more like, a reality TV show host, like Andy Cohen or something like that. But he seemed like a serious politician. But one thing, too, that I thought was very interesting. Now, I have not read the Imzadi series of books, which I hear are fantastic. But in the Shadows of Offended book, it talks about how a lot of older, more conservative Betazoids weren't into speaking, which I thought was interesting. And so kind of going through that, as they had the president who was I'm assuming the actor is deaf, not quite sure, I haven't looked into it. But I thought it was great to have inclusion of a deaf character. I think that's fantastic. Part of me, though, they didn't actually, as I was rewatching the episode today, I was kind of looking and saying, like, do they mention specifically that he's deaf? Or do they just kind of...
I don't think they did.
Yeah, I didn't see that. And so part of me is like, I wonder, and this is again, maybe as you were saying, Dave, like headcanon, is like maybe he was one of those conservative betazoids that didn't really like to speak because they can just do everything telepathically.
Yeah, or maybe never learned to speak.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Because it's been 900 years. Like in TNG, like even in TNG, like they did show some people, some betazoids who preferred to speak, who preferred to speak internally. But they still gave the characters lines where the actors like would physically have to say the lines. So they showed that like they could still speak out loud. But now they're showing like a society that's been isolated for hundreds of years, where it's like maybe not every beta can or wants to speak, or might not even learn how to speak. Like yeah, they'll still all know how to talk internally to each other, but not always. But not all of them can talk externally to other species. Like, for example, with the president, like Tarima and her Tarima and her brother, his children, they can talk just fine. But as far as we
Mm.
know, he can't. And
Mm.
I loved it. And I loved it, like the vocal whatever it was that attached to his neck that served as his voice. Like that was a great choice on the producer's part. And just
Eh,
moving to Tarima for a second, like the introduction of her as a character, fantastic. I loved her as a character, and I love the fact that the twist ending at the end where she decides to go to the war college instead of the academy. Wonderful choice.
Mm.
Smart to set up that like little love rivalry kind of thing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Uh,
like they make it look like they're gonna be they kind of make it look like it's gonna be Imzadi Part 2 kind of essentially, but with a twist apparently.
I was going to say, Chad, being involved in the Trek book club and not having read Imzadi is a bit of a faux pas, I think. You'll need to correct that at some point soon.
I'll put it on my list to read soon.
Oh,
Look,
that would make that would make this Anxiety Part 3 then.
I've only read the first one, but I only read it in 2024 whilst I was on holidays in Greece. But I managed to get through it poolside, so it's pretty good. I do agree. I think they didn't. I didn't like being confused as to why the sign language. I would have liked some exposition to explain that, and I'm the same
Yeah,
as you,
wasn't there
Chad.
debate whether that was ASL or not?
Yeah, it's it's hard to kind of figure out. And even rewatching a second time, like Chad, I couldn't quite kind of get what it was. Joel in the chat has said that the actor is actually a deaf person, which again is
Really
fair.
casting then.
Yeah, it just would have been good with some explanation. And you kind of touched on it there as well. What you think of the introduction of Taramis Sadal, who is played by the fabulous Zoe Steiner, who is a
Oh,
Melbourne born
I
and
was about
raised
to
girl.
say.
She's an
I was
Australian.
about to
Yeah,
say she's from Australia.
I'm loving the Australian representation in modern Trek because we've got what's her name as Nurse Chapel? Why have I forgotten her name?
Jess Bush.
Jess Bush, yeah, Brisbane girl, and we had the actress who was in Mythic Quest was doing voices in Lower Decks as well. But anyway, that's a
Penny?
yeah. So anyway, I've never felt like there was enough Australia in Star Trek apart from references to penal colonies and our
Yeah,
neighbor
and,
knew.
and moving on from the Betazoids for a second, like in this in this episode when they find out their roommate assignments, like so like the arguing between Caleb and I can't remember the Kionian's name. Like
Dara.
I'm sure the actors love each other, but oh my god, they just look like they just can't stand each other.
Well, I think that's we a nice little bit of conflict going around Gene Roddenberry's rules of no conflict between your main
Yeah,
cast. But
I mean, and it was like especially brilliant when like they're still doing it in front of Lura and Akge, and they have to like do. And I think it was one of them had to like physically shout to get them to stop or something like that.
Chad, what did you think of Tarima?
I think Truma's very interesting. I had no idea that she was Australian. Her accent is fantastic.
Yeah, she's
Um,
masking it well.
I wouldn't have known either if I hadn't seen an interview with her.
Yeah.
She's definitely kind of going back to some of like the scenery. I have more in episode 3, but like the scenery and the costumes. I was noticing today her shoes were these interesting kind of. No, I'm not super into clothing, but I thought her shoes were very like space age, like platform kind of thing. Kind of looking at her how she's dressed is very kind of flamboyant. So I guess she is kind of going for that Betazoid kind of flamboyancy of just like being out and similar to kind of how Majel Barrett was. And so I thought she was fantastic. It was very interesting. They don't really go too much into what happens if the inhibitor's off. So I'm very curious as to whether or not we'll see that in later on in the season here.
Yeah. I saw something in the trailer which makes me believe that we definitely will find out. I'm very intrigued by the notion of her as some sort of almost new, evolved, far more powerful Betazoid telepath or empath than we've seen in the past. I think that's going to create.
Kind of like what's his name on Gantu, but essentially.
Who was that? Sorry,
I forget his name. It was like the friend of Deanna Troi who wound up on Gantu in TNG.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's escaping me at the moment too. But yeah,
Ken Melbourne.
I that's it. Yes, but I do love the Betazoids being back. And again, this is one of those things which has caused division in some of the online discourse around why were they speaking in sign language and blah 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 blah. But I'm actually full buying the fact that Betazoids have, this psionic walls and whatever they are aside, they have clearly their culture has changed quite a bit. They're still the same people, but they've been real isolationists for quite some time, and that is gonna change their
and you could tell they were isolationists just by how much Vance Ake and that War College guy were debating about how they should approach the Betazoids.
Yeah. And you can imagine, like, in over centuries, it seems like they've been beaten around a little bit as members of the Federation. Even I remember in the Dominion War, they were invaded and occupied for a period of time, I believe, by the Dominion as well. So no wonder they had to offer them to be the Federation seat of government to bring them back in. What do we think of that as well? I know that's kind of jumping to the conclusion, but Chad, how do you feel about that? The Earth is no longer going to be the center of the Federation.
Yeah, I mean that's a bold move, moving your capital. I mean, it's worked in a lot of places, but yeah, that'll definitely change Federation. It was a smart compromise. I remember when I was in grad school, I took a bargaining class, and this seemed like, oh, this is a win-win situation. The Federation gets a new capital, which they're going to do anyways. The Betazoids get, the security guarantees that they're wanting because, when he was in that negotiation, it was all sorts of crazy demands that was like, oh, he just wants to tank the deal, of course. But for Captain Ake to kind of convince leadership to come up with this, I thought, brilliant stroke. And I think it'll be interesting because I really like Betazoids and that cultural aspect, and they just seem fun characters. So I'm looking forward to that being part of it. But of course, it seems like, Starfleet is just going to hang out there in San Francisco and enjoy the beautiful weather. And so I think it's going to be a little bit new, a little bit of the same.
Yeah.
Well, just because the government is moving doesn't mean Starfleet has to move. Well, yeah, they just have to install a presence with the government. Essentially, is all.
Yeah, but it's also it's actually quite. And this is where, like, a lot of people complain about, like, the writing in some of the newer Trek. I actually thought this was very, very clever writing, because it would be kind of lazy to just turn the Federation back into what we know from 1,000 years before this.
I agree.
You know what I mean? This is essentially a government that has collapsed, a democracy that has not failed, but, like, has been a much smaller version of itself, in hiding itself for some period of time. Like, for it to establish again, they would have to embrace change, and they would have to embrace differences, which is, I think that is almost like one of the most. A lot of people have been talking about how Academy is actually more pure Star Trek than a lot of people are giving it credit for. And this government and this democracy embracing change in order for it to thrive and grow and be inclusive of its members. I mean,
because we never got a fifth season of Enterprise, where the Federation would have been, grown and established, etc. So we're kind of getting that, as you were saying, in a small way, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Joel just said it's Rome moving its center to Byzantium. It's a well done. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, but I'll throw in my 2 cents on this, Davey. I do
Go
think
for it.
it's about time. I do think it's about time they did something like this. Like they probably they probably should have done it like back during Voyager, even or even Deep Space Nine. Like maybe throwing in a plot line where they moved to like the capital off of Earth like during the war as like a security measure. But like whoever said the capital of the Federation had to be on Earth necessarily. Like they're a federation of planets. It Earth yeah, Earth doesn't need to be the center of the Federation universe.
I agree. I agree. So it'd be interesting to see where that goes. And I think this was nice as a way of, a blend of what's going on with the cadets versus what's going on with the larger Federation. And an interesting, and I kind of went back and forth on whether I bought this or not, but I think I landed on I do buy it, actually having this debate and diplomacy in front of the cadets as well. Because they were bringing in the youth movement from the Betazoids, Starfleet. This is the new generation of Starfleet, of the peacekeeping and exploration force of the Federation. So, yeah, why not expose them to all of this? What do we think of the War College, though? You touched on that a little bit before, Chad. So, and the War College is something new that's been established here, because I don't think it was mentioned in Discovery. Now,
It wasn't.
Now, is the War College, and forgive me if we don't know the answer to this, is the War College, is it a Starfleet thing, or is that an Earth thing from when Earth was on its own? Chad, did you kind of you've rewatched recently, did you pick up on what that was?
I didn't pick up exactly what that was.
Mm.
I'm assuming Section 31 is long gone, so it's not recruiting over there, and plus they were secret anyways. So I don't know, because I mean, in the United States, we have the Naval War College, and we also have the Naval Academy.
Okay.
Like, my brother-in-law went to the Naval Academy, so I don't know the dynamic. I think he's a pilot, so I think he's flying right now, but otherwise I'd ask him.
So
maybe they're going for that vibe.
Poor
Yeah, I don't
JR77 in the chat just said they were were they not the security force that greets Discovery when they got to Earth, possibly? Sorry, Jim, what were you going to say?
I don't think they established at least completely who were what they were. Like, I personally have the fan theory that they weren't an Earth-based thing. Like, because I think it was Nala Ake did have the line that like the War College is what kept Starfleet partially manned during the burn, or there's something to that effect. So my headcanon is that the War College wasn't necessarily an Earth-based institution, but has become an Earth-based institution.
Yeah, and Joel kind of said here as well, like, not very clear. Joel assumed that the War College trained ship crews post-burn when there was no academy, but it hasn't really been explained. Because it's the term War College, I mean, that's a make Roddenberry turn over in his grave kind of term.
I mean, if Earth was xenophobic, why would they train other planets' crews? It kind of doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And poor JR77 got Army/Navy rivalry vibes from them as well. But anyway, it's probably a good segue, I think, into episode 3, which is our most recent episode, Vitus Reflux.
My favorite of the season.
Oh, really? Okay. So it's a real lighter tone, and we get the prank war essentially between the Academy cadets and the War College. Kind of playful. The rivalry does a lot of like ego exploration. I kind of said in the Discord earlier in the week, I'm like, I feel like this was all right, get that ensemble crew to bond a little bit more through this rivalry. it's the first time that I think we see them really start to gel. We start to see a bit of who they are, and the young adult energy is quite clear.
We definitely learned a little bit about Darren in this episode.
Yeah, but it's quite grounded though in character growth rather than just sort of pure comedy. Jim, I'll start with you this time because you said this is your favorite so far. So, what was it about the tone shift in the prank war that made you love this episode so much?
Just the lightheartedness. And I will say, I love the prank war idea. Love the actual pranks themselves. I just wish there had been more pranks. Because because Starfleet Academy, I think they only had like one real prank in the entire episode.
Yeah, the prank war kind of started and then it went into what was the game they were playing with mascots and all that? Yeah, that was it, yeah.
Which I also loved, although, and I do have a slight issue with that, like, Parisi Squares has always been the big futuristic sport of choice for Star Trek,
Hmm.
which we've never seen except for that one scene in, what was it, Prodigy in animation?
Okay.
This could have been the perfect opportunity to show Parisi Squares in live action.
Yeah.
But they didn't take up the opportunity. But as much as that annoyed me, like, Helica worked so well in this episode.
I agree. Although, if you remember in the first episode, there was a Parisi Squares club that could be signed up for. It was a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing. And it does seem a lot of people are quite divided. I'm just sort of reading the comments in the chat. You know, some people are like, yeah, I didn't love it. Some people loved it, especially the mascots. I thought that the prank scene at the beginning in the shower and all that was just a chance to show off just how young and attractive the entire cast is.
Yeah, like,
May have rewound it a few times. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like, I could have done without the underwear scene. Like, yes, like, they're people. Like, yes, the actors, I think, except for the person who plays Sam, are young, attractive people in their 20s. So, yeah, they're gonna go for the sex appeal factor, but didn't necessarily need that. Yes, was it mildly humorous seeing them transported out in their underwear into uncomfortable situations? Kind of. And I feel bad saying that so much, but still.
Very Starship
Ugh.
Troopers, Joel just said. I thought the same thing, Joel, because both the shower scene in Starfleet Academy and the one from Starship Troopers lives rent-free in my head forever. How did you find the shift?
I did have one other thing, Davey. I
Oh,
wanted
go
to
on.
say.
Go for it, Matt. Go for it.
Like, like when they did the kind of the requisite Terima Caleb scene, like, I could have done without the Mr. Magadu outfit scene with Caleb, but I love that we learned with Terima. The reason she chose the War College was because she needed it to focus whatever mental skills she has, because she can't control them, because she's by her own admission not a normal regular Betazoid.
Indeed. Yeah, we did get that. Absolutely. Chad, what did you think of the change in tone for this episode?
I thought it was good to have something that was a lot less serious. Of course, the second episode had some lighter aspects to it, but this one definitely, they wanted to, as you were saying, like, bond the ensemble crew together and really kind of show a different side. I think they made a lot of progress because, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen the rest of the season. My assumption is that, Darum and Caleb are going to become some kind of friends, or at least come to some kind of agreement. Even though I would like to
Or
say,
maybe even frenemies.
frenemies, that's even better, right? But I have to say, at the beginning, when he was, because I lived in a dorm, I know this. When Darren was like getting up at like 4 a.m., 4:30, and like exercising when his roommates are sleeping, I'm like, oh, he's not getting punched in the face. That is very surprising, because I think a lot of people,
Then only to find out and then only to find out Genesis had already beaten him to the punch on doing that.
That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah, she
exactly.
gets up half an hour earlier. Yeah.
No, I thought it was good. I did want to bring up one thing about this episode that I've seen kind of throughout, and it's not necessarily the prank war, which one thing about the prank war, I think real life students probably wouldn't have gone that far just because they're young and probably don't want to plan that much. But I thought it was kind of cool, especially the games. It's like games looked fun. It's like capture the flag. But
Yeah.
one thing I wanted to mention is this is the only like real complaint I have, and it's not even like a huge one, is the fact that they do a lot of lens flare, especially at the beginning of the episode. That was a little bit like this is like J.J. Abrams vibe for the Kelvin timeline movies. And I wish they could dial it back a little bit. And it seems like throughout that episode, the third episode, and some of the others, there's almost like a weird sepia tone to a lot of scenes. And I can kind of get where they're saying because I want to give it like a sci-fi vibe, but it is a little bit much at times, just kind of the color aspects and everything. But other than that, no, I thought it was fantastic with the pranks. I think it's true to life. 20 somethings are gonna do dumb stuff like that.
Yeah. Now, does
Oh,
the
and
show? Oh, sorry, go.
I just thought of something. I just thought of a plot point in this episode that I love, Davey. If you don't ship Lura and Jet, what is wrong with you?
I had a scribbled note here that I definitely had to bring that up. Klingon French cuisine fusion.
Yeah.
And look, let's talk about it now while we're talking about it. I mean, it's as a gay man, I found that very. I mean, I love when there's queer representation in my media. I love that it was revealed in very similar to sort of Stamets and Culper as like it just is, but
Yeah.
it was a surprise to the audience because we knew going into Discovery that there was going to be a gay couple, and we did not realize that we were going to get a queer couple in this a lesbian couple, and who it is, I was just like, oh no, okay, that would be. There is comedy gold in this
It
pairing.
came as a complete shock to me, but I love it still nonetheless. But still, the French Klingon fusion, I both want to know what that looks like, and at the same time, I don't want to know what it looks like.
I know.
I mean,
Go, Chad.
in France they eat escargot, so
And it's delicious.
yeah. So
Yeah, but the escargot isn't alive, though, is it?
No, it's usually not. It's usually drowning in garlic and butter from the escargot I ate when I was in Paris a few years ago. Same with
something
frog's
tells me-
legs. They're fried to within an inch of their life. So.
Yeah, something tells me if there's escargot and French Klingon fusion, the escargot is going to be alive.
Yeah. And it was just, I mean, I need to touch it. Like Gina Yashari, like I never knew I needed like a South London Jem'Hadar in my life so badly. Like she chews the scenery every time she's on camera, and I love it. Even when she comes in for that, and she's like, "I demand this!" Like she is blending the Klingon Jem'Hadar races into one character so flawlessly. Like
Yeah.
even that quote she did in the second episode where she's like, I forget which side is which, but like one side taught me that victory is life, and the other side taught me that today is a good day to die. I want to just jump though back into the fact that this episode really embraced the young adult elements. Now this is where I think we're seeing a lot of quite gross commentary online from maybe some older Trek fans out there. What is the benefit, do you think, Chad, of embracing these young adult elements? And, is it really alienating that many people, or is my algorithm just forcing that down my throat?
it could be both. No, I mean, Trek is it's throwing a lot at the walls, really. It's really getting experimental. With this show being aimed at young adults, then there was a Prodigy, which is kind of even a younger audience. Of course, I haven't actually seen Prodigy, and which is on my list of things to do. I should just take a week off and do it. I have enough vacation time. But
It's so good.
it's going yeah. It's going through so many different you have like the toddler, kind of very like 3, 4-year-old to this, and then you have the traditional, more Strange New Worlds type audience. And then so New Trek is going in a lot of directions. A lot of younger people didn't grow up like I did because I was born in '83. So growing up, I had TNG. I remember as a very small child seeing that. And then when it ended, and then you had, the rest of Star Trek. So going up from basically a 4-year-old to a young adult, I had Star Trek. And then there's a generation that didn't really have that. And so I think the fact that they're going for something new for a new demographic is a really smart idea. And the good thing is that like, even though they're going in a different direction that a lot of Trek fans may not like, doesn't take away from Trek that has been. And there's still plans for 2 more seasons, really 1.5 more seasons of Strange New Worlds and whatever they're bringing on after that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very similar to you, Chad. I'm an '84 baby myself. So, and I was introduced to, Next Gen was this thing that was on TV late at night that I managed to catch one evening before going to bed, and we're like, oh, what is this? What is going on here? I actually I know it's completely different in terms of tone and characters and all that, but I almost feel like this is this generation's Deep Space Nine a little bit. It's gone from boldly going to boldly staying in one place, even though the Athena could be taking us places. We haven't quite got there yet, but I think it also makes sense to just establish the Academy as the Academy. This is not a Starship show. But like I was saying to my friends the other day, I mean, like Deep Space Nine, Star Trek is often at its best when it pushes these boundaries a little bit and does these experiments. I think we just live in an age where some of these angry voices are a little bit more amplified.
Yeah, that kind of goes to what I was talking about earlier with the review bombing, doesn't it? Like, some people just aren't. Some people just aren't going to be satisfied no matter what.
Yeah, and people are review bombing it. Like, and when you go on like Google and see all the 1-star reviews, like they are just. It is a lot of just people trying to drag it down, but like a lot of critic reviews and diehard fans like ourselves. Well, we're open-minded, which is what Trek should really be about, and we're loving it. We know all Trek is not perfect, right? Like I'm rewatching Deep Space Nine at the moment. God, there's some there is some real shit in that. Like,
Baby, we can't. I don't think we can do a review about this episode without talking about the heist scene.
the heist. Oh yes, so yeah, that's the real Harry Potter moment, right? Because that's where they. The only thing I didn't like about that scene was the fact that they were all using like normal, like latch hinged doors in the War College instead of like automatic sliding doors. Did anyone notice that?
No, but yeah, that is a little strange now you mention it.
Yeah. But
they were just using a historic building.
fair enough. So, what did you want to say about the heist scene, Jim? Because
I loved I absolutely loved the heist scene about how every one of the cadets had a role in doing it, from Sam with her like super speed and ability to like shift spots because she's a hologram, like planting everything, to like I can't even think of every role. Was like it was just a well coordinated effort to like oh yeah and how throughout the episode, without anyone, even the audience, realizing it, just like planting seeds to get them to pull off like the perfect prank, ending with that plant or fungus that is apparently galactically protected and can't be removed without some kind of special effort.
yeah.
And of course, I love the part where it's like Mr. Mugatu, Caleb is running through the War College to get whatever he needs from like the War College dean or whatever I think it was, and Tarima almost puts the wrench in the plan with like the whole lovey-dovey scene. Oh, only o- only to like just at the end press the alarm.
Yeah. Someone said someone said Hogwarts. Someone said we get sort of almost Ocean's 11 montage.
Yeah.
Joel said Hogwarts meets Little Shop of Horrors through Ocean's 11.
Yeah, but I especially loved how after she pressed the alarm, neither of them were angry at each other.
Oh, yeah. It was very, very flirtatious. Like
Yeah.
that was a scene charged with sexual chemistry for sure. And
Oh, without question.
can I just say, like, chemistry I'm buying as well. I even noticed the two actors when they were being interviewed together before the premiere. I was like, ooh, there's something there. There's something there. These two like each other, like, and that clearly has come across in their performances as well. I mean, because they're both gorgeous, so how could you not? But any thoughts on all of that yourself as well, there, Chad?
I mean, like, it was really the reverse heist. Well, the heist to steal them and then plant them was brilliant. In terms of the relationship between Zoe and Caleb, I think it's a lot of promise. A lot of promise. You can do a lot of really interesting things with her ability or overactive ability and his just like physical capabilities and just his interesting backstory. I think that makes for a very interesting love story. So I think they set them up kind of what you were talking about, where how the academy is more like stay in place kind of thing. However, they have the option of going places. So lots of different things that lots of places they can go, and it'll be interesting to see where they choose to go. And it does set them up potentially for a lot of really interesting things in future seasons too. So
Agreed.
they were very smart about setting themselves up for a universe that can grow and expand and be adaptive to, the script, fans, things like that.
So before we kind of get near the end and talk about, wants and don't wants and predictions for the rest of the first season, a couple of things we didn't really kind of touch on too much. We didn't really talk a lot about Noose Brucker throughout all of this, Paul Giamatti's character, but I think that's because we've only just been given a bit of a taste of him so far. Like he was very...
Oh, we've only seen him the one time.
Yeah, but he was very sort of like heavily put in there as the baddie of the first season. But I feel like...
Which is why I think he'll be back.
Yeah. And I think we're getting a very... Jim, you just having gone to a Doctor Who convention, we're getting a very Doctor Who-like season in the storytelling because we're getting individual standalone episodes that you can kind of watch on their own with little bits of story arc being peppered throughout. And I'm kind of liking this balance a little bit more than the way they do it in Strange New Worlds, where Strange New Worlds I feel like Strange New Worlds hasn't really kind of found the right balance between ongoing storytelling and standalone episodes. Whereas this, like I said, is adopting more of that Doctor Who way of doing things where, like, oh, we'll have a little bit more of this relationship grow. Or there's a little bit, we found out that planet where Caleb's mother is potentially behind the psionic wall, all of that kind of thing. So I hope we'll see more. We'll definitely hopefully be seeing more of Paul Giamatti soon. Go, Jim.
Speaking of like celebrities, did anyone catch, and this took me a couple episodes, did anyone catch who the voice of like that computer dean of students is that you hear in every episode?
Stephen Colbert.
Yeah.
I was going to bring that up next. Yeah. I knew he was going to be in it because I saw him do the video of him doing the, hey, I'm going to be the digital dean or whatever it is.
Yeah. Like he talks about like he and Giamatti in that interview you mentioned, like talk about their experiences filming the episode and about how like Colbert got lucky and had like 1 or 2 days like in a comfortable studio while Giamatti was on location. Well, Giamatti was on location and had to go through pretty much hell in makeup.
I mean, I'm a bit of a Colbert fan. I know not everyone is, but I quite like having him in it. Probably because for a while I couldn't watch normal news about what's been going on in US politics, so I just chose to absorb my news by watching the Colbert monologue on YouTube each day.
I'm normally not a Colbert fan either, but I love him as the computer dean of students. Like he is hilarious.
Yeah, there's some good little one-liners. Chad, are you enjoying the digital dean?
I think it's great. Steve Colbert, he's been a presence in, you know, U.S. political culture and just news and such for over 20 years now. In
Mm.
fact, I semi got not the Colbert Report, but like the "Don't Tase Me, Bro" incident. I was like, they invented a word for that, and is on a show when it's on Comedy Central here called Solidarity. But in any case, really liking it, and I like the fact that Steve Colbert is a fan and wanted to do this.
Mm.
So that I think that's just great. Is that a lot of people who wanted to do so, kind of like when Whoopi Goldberg in Star Trek: The Next Generation wanted to do that role.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, there's that when you hear him talk about it, and the fact that it's just a voiceover role, but he wanted to be a part of Star Trek, and that's kind of cool because for someone I quite admire, I was like, oh, that's amazing. And the funny thing, you mentioned the Colbert Report there. It's a slight tangent. We used to get that on our version of cable television back when I was younger, and I remember watching the Colbert Report and not being too sure if it was a joke or not. You know? I was like, what is this? I eventually cottoned on to the fact that it was a joke, but he himself says that not a lot of people actually there were people who thought it was real. But anyway. All right, let's wrap this up. We've managed to we've done a good 90 minutes of Starfleet Academy chatting, and we could probably go a good 90 minutes more. And we've had a very active audience in the chat as well, by the way. Joel, Peter, Kevin, Paul JR77, and many others. Thank you so much. It's been really good to have you. And chat, join in on these as well. Chat, I'll start with you. The rest of season 1. What do you want to see more of, less of? What are your hot takes and predictions?
So what I want to see more of course, is for the characters to develop and grow. I mean, the fact that Caleb and Dharm are going to be friends, I think is very interesting. Of course, relationship between Tarima and Caleb, I think will be very interesting. We ship them very much. I want to see less of the lens flare, potentially. But I think his character name is not in my mind right now, but Paul Giamatti's character, I think he's going to show up, obviously. And of course, Tatiana Maslany as the mother character, Anisha, is obviously going to show up. So I think we're leading to somewhere. Maybe we'll go to Goja 5.
Yes, I think that we're definitely heading towards there pretty soon. And what about you, Jim?
One thing, I won't even touch on what Chad said because I don't think I could say it any better. But one thing I want to see, Tilly. We were promised Sylvia Tilly, and we haven't seen her yet.
Yeah. I've got a cast of Starfleet Academy search open in front of me on my laptop, and yeah, I'm like, oh, where is Tilly? Like, but yes, she's coming. I'm sure she was in the trailer. The chat's like, oh my god, yes, Tilly. What else are you after? You just waiting, hanging out for Tilly, or is that it?
Oh no, I'm loving the show, but like we need our Mary Wiseman fix. Like, come on, give us Sylvia Tilly.
We do need our Mary Wiseman. What I kind of want to see. I mean, I'm so here for it. I feel like I went into this very open-minded and low expectation, and am loving the ride. What I would love to see, there are some mistakes I think that got made with Discovery that I would like to see get corrected with this new show. And
Like
that is
waiting 2 years between seasons.
that would be nice. I do miss the of any TV show where we actually got a season each year. But I actually liked what Discovery was in the beginning. And I felt like, and don't remember, I love Discovery all the way through, but I felt like they kind of bend to that rhetoric from the vocal fans online a little bit too much instead of going all in on some of their new ideas and allowing them to grow and thrive. I think they did correct some bad things as well, but I also think that the way they kind of chopped and changed a lot kind of hurt that show a bit. And the other thing as well is that I want to see with this is to invest in the ensemble. For the love of God, please let us get to know the ensemble, because we are, even in Strange New Worlds, we're not getting to know the ensemble as well as we could be. Like, Strange New Worlds still focuses primarily on the same 2 or 3 characters over and over again. And I love Caleb. I think he's, it's good to have a central character to revolve around, but you've got such an interesting cast here. I think Strange New Pods review put it really, really well, where they said the true strength of this show is these characters. They're interesting. Like, they're really, really interesting. I'm just hoping we don't get to the end of this season and I'm sitting here going, oh, come on. Why don't I know more about Sam yet, or Genesis yet, or what's the Klingons' name?
Jaden Cragg.
Jaden Cragg, that's it, yes. Kareem Dayan, who looks fabulous in his cast photos, by the way. Love his fashion. Anyway.
And sounds nothing like his character.
Yes, exactly. Chad, sorry, I just saw you in the chat saying sorry for Jadzia Cat interrupting the video. That's hilarious. But yes, so that's kind of what I was saying. I just want to go all in on, like, if you're going to be like if it's what I'm thinking, we're going to be more a DS9 style kind of show that's going to lean heavily into this ensemble and interesting B characters and all that kind of thing. I'm like, yes, that's what I'm hoping we get. But anyway, what is actually next week's episode? I need to actually look up what that's called. Some of series 1 episode titles, because I need to maybe have a little bit of think about what we might actually be in for next week. Here we go. Episode list. Vox in Excelsior. Vox in Excelsior is what we've got next week. And I cannot even think what that might mean. Chad, any idea what that could mean?
So Vox means voice, and then Excelsior, I don't know. Voice in the highest? I don't know, but maybe some voice comes from afar. Who knows? That's just my random guess.
It's a classic Star Trek episode title, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Jim, any predictions there?
None?
No, same. I'm the same. So I guess we'll just all have to go into it blind and see what we get. But that's it for our first Let's Go San Francisco Starfleet Academy recap. I would like to give a big thank you to Jim and Chad, who are both associate producers of the Trek Masters quiz and big BQN supporters. So thank you so much for joining us. I will continue to schedule these. If you are not on our Patreon, you can join patreon.com/BQN. We are opening these up to all levels of the Patreon. So if you want to join up and actually be here on the panel, do head over there and sign up. Or you can continue to join us here on YouTube. This is a bit of a special time for us because it's a public holiday Monday here for me in Australia. So I'm available on a Monday to do this. We will get back into some regular programming, most likely on Saturdays very, very soon. And I'm also hoping, I need to actually check, so that this show, that I will actually get to see out this season, because I'm getting married on the 7th of March and then I'm going on my honeymoon. And I'm like, oh, I may not actually get to the end of this, depending on how many episodes there are in this first season. But anyway,
you might just have to delay. You might just have to delay those until after the season.
Well, man, I may need to push it back. I agree. Anyway, before we head off, Jim, where can people find you online?
I am on the. You can find me on the Discord.
On the Discord, there is a link in the description. And yourself, Chad?
I'm on the Discord as well. I'm also on socials like Instagram and Blue Sky at Chad Can Plan.
Amazing. And everyone, you know me on BQN. So Trek Masters is currently on every fortnight. We'll be back this weekend, hopefully with no technical issues. We're actually doing a Starfleet Academy quiz this week, but it's not the show. It's just about Starfleet Academy storylines, characters.
I'm looking forward to when you do get trivia about the show in there, Davey.
We will. Once the first season's done, I think we'll do that. And my other show, Bargain Bin Gamers, spelt Gaymer, will be back this week as well. We have 2 episodes coming up, starting with a our first ever Bargain Bin Gamers at the Movie with a classic recap of the 1995 Mortal Kombat film, and which I forced myself to rewatch last night. And jeez, it's bad. We are doing coverage of a queer New Zealand indie game called Adaptory. So we've got more of that coming up soon. Anyway, that's it. Jim, Chad, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us in the chat. We'll see you again soon. Live long and prosper, everyone.
What's happening on BQN, you ask? Let's chart the Star Trek cosmos with all good things. Embark on a comprehensive journey through the entire Star Trek universe with the insightful crew of Amy, Christos, Kelvin, and Kristen. Galaxy class, engage! Stephen and Stefan pilots this Alpha Quadrant mission, meticulously covering all aspects of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Infinite diversity. Stay current with the newest Star Trek frontiers alongside Chrissy and Thad. Union Federation. Whether your allegiance lies with Starfleet or the Planetary Union, Kyle, Kevin, Amy, and Haley offer a unified front, discussing both current Star Trek and the truly Trek at heart, the Orville. Crack open that book with Peter and the Trek Book Club podcast. Delve into a rich tapestry of Star Trek's beta canon. What's the tea, Bev? Christo spills the latest Trek news and fandom insights with an essential LGBTQIA+ perspective, complete with engaging guest interviews. Our visual voyages that you can find on YouTube as well as podcasts are Trek Masters. Think you're a Starfleet Academy graduate? Test your knowledge with Davey and MC's challenging Star Trek quiz show and the View Screen. Tune in live on Sundays for your dose of a Trek-inspired talk show. Kelvin and Amy host new 8-week seasons each spring and fall. But beyond the final frontier, we have Bargain Bin Gamer. Davey and Mitch, your self-proclaimed gamer guides, lead you to digital treasures, unearthing and reviewing the most affordable video game gems. Cinema Z. Grab your metaphorical popcorn for Mark and Matt's cinematic deep dives, unearthing overlooked films that demand your attention. History with the Szilagys. In order to never repeat it, tune in as Chrissy and Jason deliver bite-sized snippets of historical events from around the globe. You can unlock deeper levels of engagement with our exclusive patron perks. The Hive Mind is where you can join our random script readings, live reaction shows, and roundtable discussions. We appreciate you choosing BQN to fill your auditory needs. Thank you for listening. Assimilate the audio.
Double T Media.